And welcome to this edition of Politico on Community TV One. I am RJ along with
Earl Sparrow. What's going on?
And Darvella Claire.
And lots of things happening this week. Now, tensions continue to rise in the wake of the Eric Garner situation and, of course, the execution-style murder of two New York City police officers. There have been rallies all over the country with concerned citizens. Now, earlier this week, there were dueling protests in New York City as thousands and thousands of individuals turned out to support law enforcement, while at the same time there have been several incidents of protesters going out to say again that Black Lives Matter. Now, this has been very controversial, and there has been a lot of blame being thrown around. Right now, the most popular blame game, especially on the conservative side, is to blame President Obama, Al Sharpton, Eric Holder for this situation. Now, tonight what we're going to discuss are some of the comments that Rudy Giuliani has made about the president and, of course, about Al Sharpton. Now, the biggest premise along the conservative views is that Al Sharpton is a race baiter. And he has gone to the White House, or been invited to the White House upwards of 86 times, according to Rudy Giuliani and Fox News. Now, the Washington Post did a fact check on this and found that only 7% of those visits had anything to do with President Obama. Most of his invites to the White House have been in a situation where there have been at least 3 and upwards of 2,500 individuals in attendance along with the president. So a lot of what is being spewed out there about Al Sharpton is falling apart. Now, the biggest controversy, of course, coming from Giuliani is that he and Al Sharpton have a history. About 20 years ago, during Rudy Giuliani's first term as mayor of New York City, Al Sharpton led a couple of marches. One of them had to do with Abner Louima, who was a gentleman that was sodomized by New York City police officers in the bathroom of the NYPD. And another had to do with a gentleman, and I always kill his name. He was shot 16 times. Bruce Springsteen wrote a song about it, and it was a very controversial incident because all he had in his hand at the time was a wallet. Add to that the stop and frisk situation that has been going on in New York City, and you have a situation where things have steadily boiled over. Now, before we get into discussion, what we're going to do is we want to do first is show a balance, a history of conflict between the New York Police Department and the citizens of NYPD, especially those who are African American and mostly those who are male. So we have a little stop and frisk video that we're going to watch about 5 minutes of, and then we'll come back to discuss it.
Yo, I just got stopped like 2 blocks ago, yo.
You look very suspicious.
Cause y'all always looking at me crazy. Why you fucking hammering? You fucking piece of shit! Take a fucking yo. Why you push me like that for? Why you push me like that for? Why you push me like that?
That's exactly how some shit will go down. Just like that. Just like that. People don't like police because of the harassment. And what civilians don't understand is that the police department is like forcing us to do these unreasonable stops, or you're going to get penalized.
The mayor seemed completely unapologetic about the practice. He said it has to go forward, it's necessary. Do you have
Well, I think the mayor is absolutely correct.
Some people are just
very hurt by it and upset when they're stopped unnecessarily.
Well, I understand that some people, you're taking away, at the very least, you're taking away people's time. So I understand people may not be happy with it, but I can also assure you that I go to communities of color, people want more. So
they want more stop and frisk.
Absolutely.
I had this captain who walked into the precinct and gave a speech about harassing the public. His words were, "We're going to go out there and we're going to violate some rights." We hear it from the captain down. We want 250s. This is stop, question, and frisk.
Yeah, 116th Street between Madison and Park. Yeah, he stops me and then pushes me, telling me he's gonna punch me in my face. I was walking home from my girlfriend's house and a cop car went past me. A couple of seconds later, I heard the car turn around and they just popped out. They all jumped out the car. I decided to record it because I was getting stopped a lot and I didn't have evidence of cop being disrespectful or anything, so I pressed the button and recorded the whole thing.
Oh, you again, man.
Yo, I just got stopped like 2 blocks ago, yo.
You look very suspicious.
Cause y'all always looking at me crazy.
Because you keep looking back at us, man.
Cause y'all always looking crazy, yo. Coming up the block, always.
That's our job, my man.
To stare at me, yo?
Listen to me. Listen to me. Our job is to look for suspicious behavior. When you keep looking at us like that, looking back.
Cause y'all always like stop. I just got stopped like 2 blocks away, like.
Because you keep doing that shit, man. We stopped you last time. Listen to me. When you were walking the block with your hood up and you keep looking back at us like that, bro, we think you might have something.
Because I had my hoodie in there.
They do that. You have your hoodie on your body.
Well, because it was cold.
Yeah.
You gonna smack me? You gonna smack me? No, you asked me why I have a book bag on.
Who are you talking to?
You asked me why I had a book bag on.
You
asked me if I had a book bag on. Yo, why you? Come on, why you touching me for? He was holding me. He was going through every pocket. He was going up, down. He was going through my sweater. Then that's when he told me to keep my hands on my head. So I was like this the whole time.
You want to go to jail?
For what?
Shut your fucking mouth, kid.
Why am I getting arrested for?
Shut your mouth.
What am I getting arrested for?
For being a fucking mutt, you know what?
Oh, so that's a law? Being a mutt? Who the fuck are you talking? Cause you over here telling me why I have a hoodie, why I have a book bag on instead of my hoodie. He decided to take my hand from here and he put it behind my back like that. Why you putting it on my arm all the way back here?
Shut your fucking mouth!
You asking me questions.
Weren't you a fucking explorer at one point?
I was, and
Have some fucking respect.
Because that stopped me. You always stop me for no reason.
You want somebody talking to you?
Why you pushing?
Break your fucking arm.
You're gonna break my arm.
Yes.
For what?
Dude, I'm gonna fucking break your
arm. For
what?
Who's
your father?
You gonna punch me in my face? He's not gonna answer. He don't got a phone.
You're in traffic?
Nope. Yup.
He's a traffic cop?
Yup.
Figures.
Don't touch me. Okay, he's a traffic cop. Why you push me like that for? Why you push me like that for?
Okay, we started a little bit late, so we're going to watch a little bit more of that video about stop and frisk and the stop and frisk situation in New York City. And we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we'll watch some more, and then we'll have our discussion on this situation. This is Politico on CommunityTV1.com. So we're going to discuss more about that video in just a few minutes. So, if you have questions about it, you can hit us up on Facebook. You can post your questions directly to us right there on Facebook on this situation. And again, we'll be right back.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321-7085 and come join us.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you've got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
And we're back here on Politico on CommunityTV1.com. I am RJ along with
Earl Sparrow. Mic on, is that? Yeah.
Arvella Claire.
Okay, so we're watching a video. It has to do with stop and frisk. It's a controversial law that is taking place in New York City. I have in the past endorsed that stop and frisk may be something that's needed around a lot of African American communities around America. This particular video went viral a few years ago, and it involves a young man who actually recorded his interactions with New York PD, NYPD, New York's finest, so to speak. And a lot of it is very controversial, so we'll give it another listen, or some more of a listen, and then we'll come back and discuss it. Again, this is Stop and Frisk, right here on CommunityTV1.com.
While they holding me, the sergeant's holding me like this. He's like, I'm gonna break your arm. I'm like, why you? I'm like, you're gonna break my arm? He's like, yeah, and I'm gonna punch you in the face. I was like, you're gonna punch me in the face? And he's like, yeah. He's like, and then I'm gonna arrest you. I'm like, arrest me for what? And he's like, for being a mutt. So he grabbed me by my book bag, and he started pushing me down. So I'm going backwards like down the hill, and he just kept pushing me and pushing me. It looked like he was gonna hit me. I felt like they were trying to make me resist or fight me back. Why you push me that for?
I swear to God.
Why you push me that?
Why you
Take a fucking walk!
Why you fucking hit me? You fucking piece of shit! Take a fucking walk!
Yo, why you touch me that?
I'm mad just hearing that. Like, not many words really like could describe that. It's just disturbing. But that's exactly what's happening. Like, I could relate to what he's doing because I know that situation. They just don't got no respect for us, and they wonder why we don't have respect for them. And for them to just call him a name like that, and just like, that's just crazy.
Do you think that during stops that some police officers try to provoke so that they can justify an arrest?
Of course they do. A lot of police officers be trying to set civilians off, and then once they start talking, start cursing, they can lock them up for anything.
There was two minorities leaning against the wall. They weren't doing anything, and my sergeant ordered me to write them blocking pedestrian traffic. If you're a certain ethnicity standing on the corner, lieutenants, sergeants, they have no problem searching you, violating your rights, and racial profiling.
There was one statement that the sergeant said about what he used to do. He used to stop a guy walking down the street with baggy pants and his underwear hanging out, and he'd just stop him. He says, I know he's probably up to nothing, but I just stopped him anyway just to get a 250.
It's this one cop that everybody in the neighborhood know. Stopped us like 3 times already. Like, he was like, nah, come here. So they got out the car. They threw my friend on the car. I'm still walking. He spun me around and punched me in my stomach. Started just patting us down, and they just left us there.
What we're trying to do is make certain that it's done as professionally as possible, that proper respect is shown. It's done according to the law.
This goes all the way up to commissioner's office. I'd say even the mayor's office, where they're trying to be proactive and say, look, we're stopping people, we're getting drugs and guns off the streets. But it's not. I think it's of the 600,000 people that were stopped last year, only 1% of those that were stopped were carrying weapons.
Okay, so that video is pretty controversial, and it has been. It was actually uploaded a few years ago, and it has to do with the stop and frisk. Why is it relevant now? Because we see tensions steadily rising in New York City in the wake of the Eric Garner situation, his killing, and of course the execution of the 2 police officers. And things don't seem to be getting any better. So, I'll let you guys start on it.
I think it's weird. I think it's very, how do you treat somebody like an animal, treat them like a criminal for looking suspicious, when you have a stop and frisk policy where somebody, just because he's black, just because he's a minority, just because he has a baggy jeans, just because he has a book bag on, just because he looked at you, he can endure this from block to block and think that you should respect us. You should, we're above the law. We can do everything we want to do and all that. That's absolutely crazy. I think people see Eric Garner, they see these protests, they see all this other stuff and think that that's the reason why everybody's talking about this Eric Garner situation and all that stuff. No. Stop and Frisk has been pushing this envelope for years, since it started. Now, Eric Garner's case in the grand jury, that mess was the camel that broke the straw back. I can say that. But that doesn't negate all of these years of harassment. And there's no other words you can place on that those African Americans in New York City, they get frisked anytime they want, with many times a day as they want, to treat them like cattle and expect now all of a sudden they're fighting against the law. They don't respect us and all this other kind of crap. It's a bunch of crap. I hate that. I mean,
I'm with you. I agree 100%. If we have a problem with systematic police harassment, how can we expect the community to ever establish trust and believe that our police force is actually there to protect and serve? So I think this is a situation where we all have to get involved and demand some accountability. If we know that there's a systematic problem of harassment especially by black males, that they're being victims of harassment, I think it demands that the public, get involved and voice their concerns and to work towards changing the system. Mm-hmm. Because this is something that affects all of us. And we all want to be in communities where we feel respected and safe and secure. But unless we have that relationship with our police department and the members of the community, we can't expect there to be, peace in a neighborhood or trust with our law enforcement if they're not actually giving that to the people they're charged with serving.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that was telling to me in the video is the officers that are in silhouette. And part of what they said was that the orders came from up top, mm-hmm. that you needed to stop them and you need to harass them because there was a lot of money that was being put into stop and frisk. There was a tremendous amount of overtime. Officers were making all kinds of money as long as they were willing to make the necessary stops. So this was something that came from the top, meaning the mayor, in other words, the government in New York City decided that this would be a good thing. They felt that the crime rates were too high. Of course, the face of crime in America has always been the African American male. I think that's fair to say. So in New York City, the orders have been made to stop African American males. So is stop and frisk the byproduct of a government that was out of control? It got too big, and it decided that we need to feed this government. We need to justify the amount of money that we're putting into it. So stop as many of them as you can. We're going to get these convictions because if you stop enough of them, you're going to find something to bring them in.
I think this is an abuse of power. I think we can probably all agree on
yes.
that. This is an abuse of power. Mm-hmm. And we know that money is also, one of the reasons that we find that our system, tends to target certain individuals. If there are groups or powerful people that are willing to make that investment, mm-hmm. we actually see it being carried out. So we know money is an issue. We know money involved with our government is an issue. And we know that people in power tend to abuse their positions.
Absolute power corrupts absolute.
Absolutely.
And what the problem I have with the whole thing is that how do you expect people to react if every time you see me, I'm suspicious? If every time I see a cop, I think he's going to give me a ticket, he's going to pull me over, he's going to run my place or anything else like that. How do you foster trust and love? How do you do that? If Giuliani and the rest of them wanted to make sure everyone is safe, their safety is for all citizens means harassing black people, then go for it. I don't care. Then what do the stats say? Has crime dropped dramatically since that started? I know that the bills and the overtime and everything else has happened. I know that's fat in the pockets of some police officers to do what they needed to do. But why, after all of these years of seeing it's done nothing but enrage the community and cast further suspicion on one community, why is it still in place now? Why is it still in force? Why hasn't President Obama and Eric Garner say, why hasn't somebody, the AALCU and the NAACP, somebody sued to stop it by now? That's my question. Where do we go from here? We know it's harassment, and some people might say that was an isolated incident. Eric Garner, Mike Brown, all these other people that are dying by cop are isolated incidents. That's just less than 1% of all cops or something like that. So why focus on that? The rest of them are perfect angels and all that stuff. So it's troubling, but where do we go from there? We know it's a problem. Do we continue it? Insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We continue to, how do I say this? How do we continue to harass the African American and Hispanic community? Or do we say this isn't right? Let's find a smarter way to do this and attack this.
Well, I'm ready to say that it's not right. And I like a point that RJ made, you know, that black males specifically have been the target or the face of crime. We need to change that because there are no viable statistics that determine that black males are more likely to commit crime than any other ethnic group. But when you have a group that's powerful and has doesn't have the powerful, you know, money interest behind them, it's easy to be a target. It's easy to be a victim. But we are all aware now that this is a systematic problem, that black males have been targeted for an extended period of time, and it's going to take the community, all of the community, to push back and demand change. If you've ever come in contact with a black man and you ask him whether or not he's been targeted or stopped by police before and just question what we hear now of as stop and frisk, ask a black male if that's ever happened to him. And you'll find that it has nothing to do with looking thuggish. It has nothing to do with your economic background. It has nothing to do with the community that you're in. It's that they are the target. They are the face of crime. And it's been condoned for black males to be stopped and harassed. And that's something that we know is prevalent in the black community. And RJ, I'm sure you agree with me on that black males are the image of crime.
In the black community, yes.
Just in the black community?
Well, in the black community, yes. Community that we need to solve.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So, an officer to not harass a thug, but if I walk outside right now, see some white guy from the KKK out there hitting me in the head with a brick, it's going to be justifiably say, stop. My issue is that we have a situation where black males get targeted because of certain laws that are in place. We have the so-called war on drugs that has been in place since the 1970s. That's something that we can go after. I think that there are bigger issues, and when I say it comes from the top, that's what I mean. I think the street-level cops, just as much as the street-level citizen, become victims of an overzealous, bureaucratic government that feels that it needs to put all these stop guards in place. And if it wasn't for that situation, then we would not have a lot of these things that are going on right now. Now, we'll continue the conversation in just a minute, right here on Politico on CommunityTV1.com.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service in association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to Wi-Fi and the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321.
And welcome back to Politico on CommunityTV.com. Now, during the break, we have some pretty good discussions here during the break. They get even madder at me off screen. So, Claire, I think, take off her shoe on top of the head. And I said that, yeah, in my community, and yeah, it may be selfish, but I kind of want the crime in my community to go down. So I'm not crying about cops harassing thugs. If you know someone has a criminal record and he's hanging on the corner of my street, harass away. Please, get him off the street.
But I don't think that's the issue.
Oh, that's very much the issue.
It's not just the police stopping thugs. The issue is police stopping black males regardless of which community they happen to be in. And that's what we need to address. And your selfish need to want
be
protection
safe.
And to give up your rights
to be safe.
And to, actually on public somewhat unreasonable.
And convicted.
The police officers.
People who are arrested and convicted of crimes.
The police officers determine who's a thug and who's not.
People who are arrested and accused of crimes and convicted of those crimes.
So the thugs pick themselves.
Yes. So. You choose to stand on the corner and deal drugs, you're a thug. And here goes my biggest issue with liberalism. I get so tired of hearing the liberals try to paint us all as the same. We are not the same. The seeing person is a step above the blind when it comes to walking in traffic, when it comes to walking down the road or driving a car. So you can't say that all of us are the same. We are not. If you choose to sell drugs in our community and now you want to pretend that you have the same rights as everyone else, that's okay. And that might be the right thing to do. That might be the politically correct thing to do. But it doesn't get the drugs out of my community.
And if thugs were the only ones being complaining about, aren't the only one complaining about harassment.
Everyone, whites,
and that's
Hispanics,
what we all have to consider.
Big government.
No, we're not the same. And just because you dress a certain way or you have a criminal history doesn't make you an active thug and doesn't mean that you have to be arrested. If you're not in the process of committing a crime, you should not be harassed. And that's something that the public is complaining about. Black males, not just in the black community, and harassed wherever they are, and that's something that we need to address. So it's not just specific to the black community. This is a phenomenon that we are experiencing throughout the city. It's at the top. It starts at the top, and that's what we all need to address, and we need to focus on solutions to actually address the problem instead of condoning.
The shoot first guy, I'm reaching for my, we talked about this about a few months ago. I'm reaching for my car registration. I'm gonna get shot. I have something in my pocket. I'm pulling my wallet out to give me my ID. I get shot. turn around, get your driver's license. The guy in South Carolina, go get your driver's license. He turns around and gets his driver's license. He shoots him. He's like, what you doing? What you shot me for? You turned around too fast. I'm like, so that just leads up to, and I wish we had the stats. How many black men actually carry a firearm? What percentage it is? How many blacks have a gun that they stopped and arrested or something like that? What percentage? Why is it a 1,000,000% chance that the only thing in a black man's car at night that you pulled over? Why is that? I mean, in seeing that on TV, that's coming from the top. Black men have guns. Black men can take your life. See this black guy that shot this guy and all this stuff, so you should be safe, especially when they're black. And that's what's coming down. That's what's coming down. And you see the police officers that are in hiding on the video we showed today. They know it's the problem.
It came from an out-of-control government. You're
But
absolutely
we have
right.
community members that are actually
That said,
concerned about it. If you look thuggish, you should expect to be harassed.
Yep,
But the
that's what he
problem
said.
has expanded. Now, not only the people that look a certain way are being targeted, everybody of a certain ethnic group is being considered that related to big government, then we need to do something to actually shrink our government and make it more accountable to the people.
All right,
Let me tell you where the big government stuff comes from. Big government stuff comes from people that have money, have situations. They have gated communities and all that other kind of stuff like that. They have their kids to go to public school to take care of other people. All that shrinking government stuff means crappy roads. That means crappy service. That means less firemen, less EMTs and everything else. So all that shrinking government stuff comes from the Koch brothers and all them other people that don't understand where their tax dollars are really going to. They think their money is going to pay for Shanae and all these other people that are welfare queens that have kids, and they think that's a bunch of crap. It really is. All that shrink government stuff, smaller government, that's not the case. That's where the roots and all that government's too big stuff comes from in the first place. So I really don't follow that big government stuff, shrink government.
Okay, first of all, that's one of the silliest arguments that liberals make. That, oh my goodness, he said that it's about shrinking government.
Keep it count now.
He's saying it's about shrinking government, about his taxes. No, it has nothing to do with that. Guys, whenever we're in a situation where the government gets to be too big, then it cannot control itself. It has to keep feeding itself. So it does not come from the Koch brothers. It comes from a recognition that there have, through the years, been certain laws that have adversely affected African Americans through history of this country. And whenever we allow government to get out of control and to get too big, then you have a situation where you can be oppressed. The stop and frisk laws are a direct relative of the war on drugs. The war on drugs came from these beliefs that, oh my goodness, marijuana, when it was first outlawed, it's making white women actually want to have sex with black people. They can't control themselves. We need to pass these laws that are going to stop them. And in the 1970s, they had the perfect administration to do it. Crime was going up. You had African Americans standing up for themselves. So something had to be put in place to quell that. What did they put in place to quell it? It was that war on drugs. And there are so many people that make money off of the war on drugs that it's ridiculous. So, of course, you have to arrest as many people as possible in order to continue to feed the beast. So out-of-control government comes from allowing the government to get too intrusive into our lives. And when you say that you want stop and frisk to go away, that means that you want government to shrink. Because, like I said, you have people at the top, as the cops said, the people at the top are telling us that we have to go out there and we have to arrest or stop this many people. One lieutenant told me, this is a report from one of the officers in the video. One lieutenant told me that this is what I did. I stopped a certain number, and because I knew that if I stopped a certain number of them, I would be able to make an arrest. So this whole thing stems and it causes government to get out of control. I did not mention welfare. I did not bring up taxes or anything like that. I brought up the fact that we have a government that's getting more and more intrusive into our lives, but it's not getting intrusive in a good way. There are too many things that are out of control now, and we keep allowing it to happen.
I don't believe that the issue is the size of government. I think the issue is a lack of accountability. Now, the reality is, if our government is too big, that means we have too many lawmakers, or they're making too many laws, because that's what's being, complained about. Okay. We're talking about the laws that are being passed, exactly, and how they unfairly target black people.
Right.
Now, that has nothing to do with welfare, and that has nothing to do, in my opinion, with whether or not, stop and frisk is something that we should be doing in the black neighborhood. I think it's about accountability. And on the local level, that is something that we can control. Because when we see these laws being passed by our oversized government, what we see is them targeting people that are not capable of pushing back. That's what we need to be concerned with as a community, making sure that our lawmakers are held accountable, just like we're asking you to make sure that our police officers are being held, asked to be responsible for their behavior and held accountable when they're inappropriate. So that's something we can all get involved with and have some input in, and I think that's what we see from the marches. That's the community actually activating and doing what they're legally asked to do, as active members of our community. We're supposed to be engaged. And when we feel as though our lawmakers aren't behaving responsibly, or our government isn't behaving responsibly, we have to get out there, make some noise, and demand change. That's what a society does. The members of that society actually get together and demand more accountability, demand change. And this is something we all agree on is inappropriate, it's ineffective, and it's actually diminishing our quality of life.
I don't know about ineffective. The reason that stop and frisk has been allowed to continue is because it did bring down the crime rate in New York City.
What statistics have we seen that stop and frisk actually brought down the crime rate? Now, the crime rate has reduced dramatically, but what makes you think that it's
not just
because of
New York City?
No, this is in direct correlation with the stop and frisk in New York City, and the fact that they were able to stop so many people, and it has to do with the number of arrests that were made because people had small amounts of marijuana on them, which was an arrestable offense, because we have laws that mean that the police who are in charge of enforcing the law, once they stopped these guys, they had to arrest them or they were not doing their jobs. So again, we have laws that are on the books that are causing these situations to happen. New York City, during this time, has gone from being targeted as one of the most crime-ridden cities in the country to one of the better big communities in the world. Okay, so
I need you, Earl, to help me with this, because I just heard RJ say that if you arrest more people, you reduce the crime rate. Not that these people are committing crime, but stop and frisk was a way to arrest more people, which reduces crime.
I said when they found marijuana on them, which was illegal, the law enforcement officers had to do their job.
So there were less robberies, less home invasions, because
I'll look up the stats while we look at
all of these people that were caught with marijuana on them.
Yes.
That reduced the overall crime rate.
The overall crime rate was reduced in New York City because of stop and frisk. I'll look it up. Okay?
I think the biggest issue now is they have jails. They build the jails, so they have to fill them up.
Thank you. There we go. We're in agreement on this. Yes, sir.
They build the jails. They'll shut down a public school, but they don't have money in Philadelphia and all these other cities.
And why did they do that, Earl?
Because the prison
industrial complex, which is supported by
what?
The war on drugs.
Well, the war on drugs, but then you have the prison lobby. You have people that are making money, dollars, hand over fist, right now with free labor. They're trying to arrest these people, go ahead and pay them 5 cents an hour to make all this other kind of cheap labor and all this other kind of stuff like that. So it is It is
Break it down, Earl.
profiting,
That's right.
profiting off of the black backs of people that have an ounce of marijuana on them.
And we know that
Now
most
they
of
lost
these
their rights to
expanded
vote.
prisons are actually private. They're actually private. So
Right.
we're not talking
They're saying,
about our
no,
government.
we don't want
expanding
big government. We want
traditional
big
prisons.
private.
The laws are being, guys, the laws are being passed that allow for these private prisons to come up. Don't you guys, do you get the correlation?
I get the correlation.
Okay, they have to stop them because they have to arrest them because they have to fill up the prisons. The reason that the rap music industry, the gangster rap, was allowed to become so prevalent in the African American community was based on those laws. So we'll talk about this more on the other side. This is Politico right here on CommunityTV1.com.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier, and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321-7085 and come join us.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you've got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
So The View, which I really don't watch, okay, but heard a couple of things about Whoopi Goldberg and Rosie O'Donnell, which I guess gets pretty good because a lot of their heated arguments make their way around the internet and they become a trending topic. Well, this week, or last week, Rosie and Whoopi got into a very heated discussion on racism. Now, Arvella wants to define racism for us first.
I told you to pull it up so we can read it and
You
make
said
sure
you posted a racism.
Yes, I posted it on
Okay,
Facebook.
the belief that all members of each race possess characteristics or abilities specific to that race, especially as to distinguish it as inferior or superior to another race or races. Prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. I think the big point in that is that it's about antagonism. In other words, you do something that is racial towards someone, which makes you racist, which is different from having preconceived ideas, thoughts, or notions about a specific race or individual's gender, whatever you may have, which is bigotry. So with that said, We're going to listen to Whoopi and Rosie go at it now, because they get down better than us.
Talk about racism, we have to understand that it's systemic, though, Whoopi. It is a system.
You guys need to know what real racism is. You need to know what racism is. Racism is when somebody comes up die. That's racism.
Yeah.
But we know that. But the difference is, I go into Brooks Brothers. My mother will go into, when it used to go into a place, and they would follow her around. Now, do I think it's racist? You think if they don't look like they have a lot of money? We just saw recently that 2 white people with look very rich walked in and stole a $135,000 coat. So the issue is, you better look at each other as an individual.
But we don't. But the reasons we're following black folks and people of color in stores is because of implicit bias. Implicit bias is basically based on the whole system that we've all been taught. Every single American has all been taught that certain people, and black folks, because a lot of the cops who are shooting down innocent black folks are also people of color. So we are all in this system where we've internalized these ideas about folks of color. And so the work is to examine those implicit biases and see and they affect in ways in which we interact with each other, and also public policy. So yes, it is racist when black folks are followed around stores and profiled in certain ways. It is
having watched people, no, it's, listen, I've been black for 60 years, okay? I've been black for 60 years. Yeah. For me, stupidity, there are dumb folks who just say dumb stuff because they're not looking or paying attention to the person they're talking to, which is why people can walk up to Obama and not look up at him and see that it's the
But that's
president.
subconscious racism. I'm sorry. If me and Rosie were going into a store together,
they would follow your behind
too. They would follow me and not her. When my sister and Carmen and I were in San Antonio, we are in an exclusive hotel. We're in an exclusive VIP lounge. There are millions of people up in that, right? We walk in and they ask my sister Carmen to clean the table.
Big mistake.
Okay? There was
so you think the lady walked up and said because she's a Hispanic woman, or because she just assumed that all Hispanic people who are in there can't afford to be there? Is it ridiculousness or is it racist?
It's racist.
See, I don't think
it's both.
I don't see it. I just see it as stupid. I just see it as stupid.
Do you all think that we live in a racist country?
Without a doubt.
Absolutely. Okay, see, I think a country that elects an African-American president twice, I don't think every American is racist.
That doesn't allow them to do one thing.
Right, and I think the Congress is controlled by Democrats. They're controlled by Democrats.
Wait. Make that point again, because it's very important that people remember who was in the Congress.
Well, but the American people elect
also that we elected.
Right.
Democrats are racist too. It's our cultural history.
Listen. You are a white lady telling me what is racist to you, which is
fine. What homophobia and hatred looks like.
It's not the same.
I have a black kid I raised, Whoopi. I have a kid in my house.
That is not the same thing.
You don't have to be black to know what racism is.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do, baby.
You do not.
Yes, you do. Let me
I think that there's so many white folks out there who've been protesting, who understand, who see and understand.
Which is why I say it's not racism, because America is not just a racist country. Because there are white people who get it. There are white people who look up and say, honey, this I know. But that is why I will not accept the blanket statement that America's racist. I don't agree. I'm sorry. Kick my butt and keep your tweets to yourself.
So we agree to disagree.
As we will always do, because this is called what?
The View.
We'll be right back with more Hot
Topics. You want me to do it? Yeah. Oh, we're live. Wow. So that is Whoopi and, of course, Rosie going at it. Now, Whoopi has thrown at her in the United States. Now, Whoopi kind of has a chip on her shoulder about it because if you know anything about Whoopi Goldberg's career, she was not initially accepted by African Americans. Kind of like Deion Sanders. Most African Americans wasn't feeling Deion. He was too outspoken, too gregarious. You know, gregarious. Yeah. He was just too out there, so most did not accept him. So Whoopi, you see her when she finally in the American community for the way that she, based on her look, has most of the people that scream, okay, she's pointing, don't really understand racism. To them, it's just a word. What do you guys think?
A concept that's really misunderstood. I think something that's, you will hear people in conversations say that black people can't be racist, and that's usually because black people aren't in positions of power. They're not in positions that allow them to succeed. That's what racism, that's a crucial part of racism, that you actually have to have the power to affect that other person's life. And when you're a person of color, that in groups of black people and say things about another race, that's prejudice. It's not racism, because we're not actually, so power has to be associated in those positions where they can affect the quality of life of another person who's racist. They can be prejudiced, but they can't be racist.
I think that people, stuff went away in the 60s, and people that says, like the lady on the clip, I don't know what her name is, but she's Obama 2 times, America.
That's like Jenna Bush or one of them?
I don't know who, the lady on the clip, I forgot.
I don't
and
know their
Whoopi
names.
agreed with
I
her,
don't really
yes,
watch it.
say that again. That's a bunch of crap. You have, when you think of a criminal, close your eyes like they did on The Time to Kill. Guy talked about the girl, and he said, now imagine it was a white girl instead of a black. And that changed the whole script. And the whole thing was, you know, maybe I need to look at him as a human instead of just a colored human. Or his Whoopi most of the time. But on this case, she's dead wrong. I think that I hate when people, and that's happened to me yesterday and a little bit today, that people say, I raised a black child, so I know what racism is, or something. Like, that's what the lines of reasoning that Rosie O'Donnell was, because I think she adopted a black child.
Right.
So she's like, well,
she's gay.
now I'm a black mom. I'm a mom of a black person,
mom.
so I'm black. Makes absolutely no sense.
I agree.
And she, on that step, she needs to get back in her lane for me.
And stick on the conversation with the president. I think now, as a community, as a society, we actually see things becoming more divided than they've ever been. Like president, and wanted that to happen, had the illusion that that would actually make things better. But it's been my experience that things have become progressively worse. You know, than they've ever been before. But that's how we see racism on a nationwide scale come into play, because now we see those in power actually being able to use their power to push back against authority. And to think that those in power, those in our Congress, are actually the ones that we see on the other, but we actually see power coming into play with our government. We see those who are racist actually having a bigger voice and a bigger impact on what happens to us legislators.
And all they have to do is say that they're not racist, and that seems to make up for
Absolutely.
it. I can't agree that Obama gets more flack. Okay, and the reason for that, ladies and gentlemen,
you want to start an argument.
No, honestly, ladies and gentlemen,
I want to hear this.
Bill Clinton was accused of murder. Bill Clinton and his wife were actually accused of murder, that they actually killed someone. The First Lady of the United States, Hillary Clinton, was accused of being homosexual. Not that there's anything wrong with that if that's her preference. But, politically correct.
I think you cannot say that Obama has not faced the most vitriol. I mean, hate straight up.
More people speak up.
He's a Muslim. He's a race. He's from Africa. He's this and that. George Bush had his good points. He had his bad points. Everything else like that. But George W. Bush did not face as much criticism on a daily basis. Laura Bush has not faced as much straight up hate as Michelle Obama has. There's no,
I agree with
there's
you
no comparison.
I agree with you about the first ladies, because I will go out there and throw rocks about somebody messing with Michelle, okay? I don't appreciate that at all. But as far as President Bush was concerned, the guy got accused of allowing 9/11 to happen, being involved in some kind of a cabal to allow the terrorists to knock down the Twin Towers and allow the Pentagon and the planes to be hijacked, that he knew about it and he let it happen on purpose, that he went into Afghanistan and Iraq simply for the oil, that he's a war criminal.
I think that's legitimate. I think those are legitimate.
Well, the people who say the things
If we
about
stick
President
to the
Obama,
policy,
legitimate.
then you have a right to criticize. But that's not what we see happening.
but that's
with the
exactly
current
what
president.
happened. I'm offended when they say the food stamp president. However, then you have to admit that, yes, the food stamp program has expanded expeditiously under President Obama. Okay, but see, here's the thing, guys. But see, no.
Because the
Oh, gosh.
people were in need of additional
Okay,
services.
look,
And
you don't have
that's
to
the job
defend
of
Obama.
government
I
to
swear.
provide
You don't have to defend him. I swear you don't. The point I'm making is that when you say that President Obama was not has received more of this than anyone else, guys, that's kind of that's a relative view. Okay, we'll be right back on CommunityTV1.com. There was a very controversial op-ed piece in the Fort Myers News Press this weekend, and we'll come back to wrap things up with a discussion on that situation.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV One, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you've got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.
All right, we are in overtime, so we just had to talk about the opinion. Political correctness is not the problem. What is it? What was the thing? Right? What did he say? The right answer. Respect is. So we got a big lecture from Mr. retired police major Ken Anderson. Kevin Anderson. There he is in the nice little 5-year-old picture of him, because he's been retired for 5 years. He works at Chico's now, which is something that we'll definitely touch on we as a people, I read it as one of the most disgusting things I've seen in the news press in the 13 years I've been here. I think Mr. Anderson, retired police major, showed us under the guise of political correctness, he's not going to be politically correct anymore, that this is how I feel about blacks, about cops, how I feel about my personal experiences as an SRO, a school resource officer, how I feel as far as, how do I say this the right way? Veteran on the street, I got scratched by a pregnant woman, and instead of treating her as a pregnant woman, I should have treated her as a criminal, saying that maybe he should have slammed her and caused her a miscarriage or something like that because he got scratched, or he got punched by a black person. I guess he was trying to get the pity thing and go with the blacks are criminals. I know because I got hit by one and I got scratched by one. I don't know where that came from. He touches on a bunch of items about why Ferguson, about Darren Wilson and Mike Brown. He just talked about a whole bunch of crap that tried to put it together and say that, you know, if you're going to dress like a thug, you should be treated like a thug and all this other kind of stuff. And it was amazing to me that the news press will give someone who has such a disturbing view of African Americans, those same people that he's supposed to serve and protect, a platform to talk about that. And I talked with a Fort Myers police officer today, an African American. He said, number one, he should not have been in the paper wearing a police uniform when he's not a police officer anymore. That is a direct reflection on the people that are in force now, that are working, and that are representing the streets. He does not answer to them, but they have to answer for his bigotry and all. I can't even say it any other way. His feelings, his personal feelings. He should have had a picture of him with a Chico's hat on, or a regular picture or something like that, because it's saying that if I'm just looking at it, I would think that he's still in force, and this is somebody that's policing the streets feeling this way about a segment of the community in Fort Myers, Florida. And I'm surprised that Chief Baker hasn't come out with an article saying, hey, that guy's opinion is that guy's opinion. That doesn't represent us. I'm disgusted by his viewpoints and everything else. I think we should make sure that from now on, somebody who's retired wants to represent himself. He needs to go as a picture of himself and not as a picture of us as the Fort Myers Police Department. I think that we definitely need to talk about if he's a person that's going to, he feels that way, and he was a police major. We talked about earlier in the show, it comes down from the top. What do the people above him think? What was he passing on to the people that are on the streets? Was he telling them, be careful with a black kid because I got punched by a black kid, so watch out for black kids? It's disturbing. And the biggest thing that he said, that he agrees with Charles Barkley that, you know, if there were no cops, then everybody, I guess, we're a bunch of savages and we'll just kill ourselves and it'll be the Wild Wild West or something like that. It's horrible, and I just want to find out what you guys' opinions. I know you read it, and I tagged you guys in it a little earlier. How do you react to something like that from a police major, a person that is in power, that was in power? We talked about the racism. You have to be in power to be racist. What do you feel? What do you guys think about that? What did you read out of that? Maybe I was reading too much into it. Talk me down.
Okay. Personally, I know Kevin Anderson. I have been around him. I won't judge him based on this article because I think some of the things that he said can easily be taken out of context. The interactions that I had with Kevin Anderson was that he was always professional. And I'm big on believing. I could care less what your personal views are. Can you do your job? Okay? If you are a bigot and you're on the police department and that causes you to not be able to do your job in a professional manner, then you should be removed. we can't control someone's thoughts. It's like watching NFL and all these other, like Mark Cuban said it best when Donald Sterling was called out. Do you really think that Donald Sterling is the only owner that feels this way? You got some old white money that's in charge of the NFL and the NBA. So when you're faced with that situation, we have to start allowing that if someone is able, i.e. Kevin Anderson, to do his job in a professional manner, I could care less what your personal feelings are about me. You don't have to like me. And I've said this to law enforcement officers doing diversity and speaking with Department of Juvenile Justice doing diversity training. I don't care if you like me. Can you serve me? Because whether you like it or not, you can be as big a bigot as you want. The fact is you still work for me. And now if you can't handle that, turn in your badge. I can say that I never personally saw it from him, and from listening to some of the comments that were made, there were many people that were surprised that he held these types of views. He has been talking a while about diversity and things in the community. Last November, he wrote an op-ed piece about diversity and that it is needed, but also respect for law enforcement is needed also. So I'll judge him on his record rather than one article.
I wouldn't know his record on a personal level, and I wouldn't know his opinion on a personal level. And that was what concerned me, that the news press decided to allow this person to share his opinion. And what it was filled with me was these sweeping generalities that came across that as if black people aren't responsible for educating their children, aren't responsible for raising their families, expect government to take care of them. But when you make all of these statements about a race of people, a group of people, there's no way not to see it as someone that's prejudiced. And for the news press to allow this systematic attack on an entire race of people really concerns me. It concerns me because this is supposed to be the voice of our community. Yet we have this retired officer that says, I'm no longer going to be political correct. I'm going to tell you what's really on my mind.
Isn't that what we want?
No, that's not what we want, because that's part of the problem we have with our current government. What do we see? People saying exactly what's on their mind.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate? Does it help us work together? Does it help the police department work within their community? When you're coming out with these comments about how you truly feel about people of color, and it's not positive, and it tends to come across as racist. When you assume that black people don't care about teaching their children, you know, how to respect authority, when you assume that black people are totally dependent on the federal government for social services that, you know, these liberals have put into place, he said that, you know, I find it to be offensive. And I don't think it should be his role to come out and offend an entire group of people that don't know him, and have us to know that he was associated with our police department.
Right.
Now, who is he speaking on the behalf of?
Himself.
Is this the general feeling of our entire police department, or just his personal opinion?
He said he was speaking for himself.
But he was allowed to stay in this force with his negative opinions, and you're
Okay,
saying
his
we
personal
have no
opinions.
proof.
We have no control over someone's
that
personal
he did
opinion.
anything that was inappropriate.
Right.
But what we
How do we
also
know that?
don't have nationwide is these public cases where we see officers being held accountable for things that are questionable,
Yeah, we do
or
see it.
even just going through our judicial system.
Guys, we see
That's what's not happening.
We see, let me
see
tell you what we
custody
see. We see internal investigations. We see paid administrative leave. We see Mickey Mouse courts where they 99% of the time they don't get indicted. We see a bunch of stuff going on. And for him to be a professional and state his opinion about the facts about, we've talked about this so much on this show about the mistakes that Robert McCullough, the DA of Ferguson, did and doing everything in his power to throw anything and everything to confuse that grand jury. If he wanted to get an indictment, he could have got it. The DA, the prosecutors, and the police work hand in hand. They're a team. They work together. If he goes after this person too hard, then they're not going to give him any support. So it's horrible for somebody that under the guise of a retired police officer to push these lies. If he followed directions, he would be alive. If he did this, if he did that, you need to respect the United States. You respect the police, no matter if they're cussing you out or violating your rights or doing anything else. You need to respect them. And the reason why everything is going on,
and
that's what bothers me.
We're in a situation where, you do have to respect them, or you end up losing your life. Now, you can say that that's wrong.
Respect is a two-way street.
Okay, it can be, but he's dead. Okay, the kid is dead because of what he did. Okay, so we do have to put it in context. Now, we had a couple of.
We don't think that he did anything that should resulted in his
You're
death.
absolutely
so
right.
We're talking about
You're absolutely right. But when we say respect, when you hear respect of the process of law enforcement, then that is a totally different thing. Now, if the cop makes a mistake, that's different. But yes, I will continue to teach my black males that I run into to have deference towards law enforcement because it could get you killed.
Yes.
Not later on, you can talk junk about them all you want.
A
couple of comments we have to wrap up. A couple of comments came in via YouTube tonight. Thank you so much, guys, for participating. One had to do with the fact that we did not mention the role that parents play in the bringing up of these kids. And, I could have talked about that for a half hour at least. So thank you for that. I'm going to call you out, Eddie Felton. Thanks, Eddie, up there in Georgia. Thanks for hanging out with us. And also, someone mentioned that as African Americans, we don't seem to hold ourselves accountable nearly enough for what is going on in our communities, something that I agree with, as you all know. This is Politico right here on Community TV 1. I have the conservative,
Arvella Claire,
and the moderate, the humanist.
Moderate?
Yes, I am not a right-left. Liberal is just, But I don't call you right-wing. I call you conservative and all that other stuff. I don't call you anything, but that's all right. You call me what you call me. I've been called worse. I'm Earl Sparrow.
So, guys, we will see you next
New
year.
Year.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Politico on Community TV 1. I want to thank executive producer Jesse Dortch for giving us the platform. See you.
Happy New Year.
The City of Fort Myers has supported new and early-stage businesses by providing a location and technical assistance to new business owners. Tenants also have access to free business consulting, professional receptionist office, free Wi-Fi, 2 conference rooms, a large training room, copier and fax. Many new businesses now operating successfully have had their start at the Enterprise Center. If you have a business idea you would like to pursue, call Tom Scott at 239-321-7085 and come join us.
Crystal Joy Sound System Rentals and Professional Recording Studio is at your service. In association with Community TV 1, the only community-based multimedia studio. Crystal Joy offers professional subs, main tops, monitors, power amps, professional mics, and a full soundproof multi-room studio specializing in Christian singers, groups, and bands. If you are talented and think you've got what it takes, we're looking for you to join our record label, Crystal Joy Records. For more information, contact 239-771-2560.